staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend. As, of course, most of us were supposed to be honoring those who pay the ultimate price and honoring our brave men and women in uniform. We'll get to the way our president decided to honor them in just a few minutes here. A lot to get to, a lot to talk about. The Occupy Democrats Network, we're on the Washington Press Network, the FMAM dial KSHP, of course, my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. And we certainly appreciate all of you for joining us. As I mentioned, there is a lot to get to, including a recent Donald Trump tweet from Truth Social this morning that says, what Vladimir Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. And I mean, really bad. He's playing with fire. So to talk to us a little bit about this Truth Social tweet and Donald Trump's antics over the weekend, somebody himself and is a hero. And of course, I'm talking about Midas Touch's very own Ron Filipkowski joining us. Ron, I hope you had a great holiday weekend. How are you?
Yeah, it was okay. Went and saw the Mission Impossible movie because we had rain here in Maine, but finally got some good weather.
Yes, well, that's nice to hear. I hope you enjoyed yourself, Ron, and thank you for the service, by the way. When you see this tweet that I just read from Donald Trump talking about Vladimir Putin, and we'll get to some of the other comments he made over the weekend, but when you see this tweet that he put out earlier today, what goes through your mind and what is your reaction to it?
I mean, you know, I've literally read like every single social media post Donald Trump has made for like 8 years and watched all the interviews, watched every rally speech, you know, because that's what I do. And it's very, very rare that he could put anything out that surprises me or shocks me. Like, you know, his vile Memorial Day post or his, you know, which is very similar to, you know, his Easter posts, his Christmas posts. They're always disgusting and inappropriate. So that stuff doesn't surprise me. Most doesn't surprise me. But this one surprised me because this is literally like him saying the quiet part out loud. This is the Jack Nicholson, A Few Good Men, you can't handle the truth, I ordered the code red moment for Donald Trump. Where, you know, for the first time, he really says, like, there's a lot that I could have done. And, you know, he's basically saying there's a lot that the Europeans wanted me to do, the Ukrainians want to do, Republicans in Congress wanted me to do that I could have done, but I haven't. I've held it back because I have such a good relationship with Putin and he's always been my friend. But, you know, you put that with the tweet that he made 2 days ago and the statement he made 2 days ago where he said he doesn't understand what happened to Putin. They used to have such a great relationship, but now he doesn't listen to him anymore. And he just doesn't know what happened. So you put these two things together and you clearly can see that what Trump believed, and this coincides also with his prediction that he would end it in 24 hours, right? Was that Putin was his friend. Putin was his pal. And that as soon as he became president, he would just call him up and everything would be fine and this war would be over. And of course, you know, it shows what a bumbling idiot and a fool that Donald Trump is, that here we are now, May 27th, and he's putting out a tweet going, man, I've been so good to Vladimir. You know, I've done so much for him and he's not doing anything for me. It's just pathetic.
Completely pathetic. And he made some more comments over the weekend, basically making it sound like what happened to Vladimir Putin? He's always wanted peace. We've always had a great relationship. And every single time he says Putin wants peace, there's another airstrike, more innocent women and children are murdered, literally hours after he makes these statements. And now all of a sudden he's thinking to himself, geez, maybe Vladimir Putin played me. Maybe he doesn't want peace, Ron.
Yeah, I mean, he's the only person on planet Earth who believes that Putin wanted peace. I mean, even the Russians don't think that Vladimir Putin wants peace. Right. Even Vladimir Putin says he doesn't want peace. I mean, what else do you need to know? Like, oh, he wants peace, sure, if he can have all of Ukraine and, you know, along with lots of other things that he wants as well. Sure, then he'll want peace, but for how long? For a month? And then who's next? Estonia, Lithuania, Poland? I mean, that would only embolden him. Everybody knows this. Anybody who's ever cracked open a history book or watched the History Channel knows that you don't handle people like Putin by appeasing them and giving in to their wants and desires when they wage wars of aggression. And it's not just, everybody points at Germany, but there's thousands of examples throughout human history where that is the case. So right. Donald Trump, by the way, who doesn't read, who doesn't know history and is largely illiterate, but thankfully he was able to have, his dad pay off a doctor to get him out of Vietnam, and then his dad to pay somebody to take his SATs so he could transfer into Wharton. But, the guy is a moron. He's literally a moron. And not only that, he appoints as his special envoy to Russia, Steve Witkoff, who has never served in government, never been a diplomat, never served in the military. He's a real estate investor from New York City.
Right.
And he has been to Moscow 4 times. He has never brought anyone from the State Department with him. Where's Marco Rubio? Marco Rubio is not part of any of this, and he's the Secretary of State. In fact, his Witkoff shows up in the Kremlin. He doesn't even have his own interpreter, so he's got to use a Kremlin interpreter. I mean, this has been a fiasco from day one.
And Ron, I'm wondering, somebody like you who served, I mean, we all take his statements personally, but on Memorial Day, when he's talking about a speech that he's going to be making at a cemetery, and then he Truth Social tweets it out and says, enjoy. Isn't this a day, Ron, where we're supposed to mourn and remember those who lost their lives, who have served this country, and all the widows and all the people out there that have lost loved ones? And Donald Trump is telling people to enjoy, to get ready for his speech at a cemetery. What do you make of that?
Because he's a malignant narcissist. I mean, it should be obvious to anybody. Unfortunately, it's not obvious to tens of millions of Americans who, despite the fact that they get hit upside the head with a brick millions of times, they still don't get it. But everything is about him. He literally makes every event, whether it's a funeral or anything, about him. So when he talks about when he puts out his message saying, I'm going to go to Arlington to honor the people there. I mean, he's not making it about them. He doesn't talk about them. He doesn't talk about their side. He says, tune in to watch me give a speech and enjoy it. He says, enjoy it. Enjoy. I mean, if anybody's ever walked through Arlington, and me, yes, I went there as a young Marine, and I went there, took my kids there after many years later. It's such a powerful experience. You can hardly talk. I mean, especially as a vet, who had people who died that served along with you. You can hardly speak when you walk the ground. So for him to say, enjoy my speech, and then I watched it, and then you could see, you could tell that he's got this script, and you could tell that he has been warned and told by his people not to go off script like he does in his rallies, because that's when he says the obnoxious shit. They had this carefully crafted speech for him, and there was one time where he started to go off script and talk about Biden or trade policy or something. There was a brief moment of about 30 seconds, and Asen, who does our clips, was texting me here he goes, and and my ears pricked up. And then he stopped and he said, no. He caught himself. He said, no. I've got to just stick with the speech here. I promised that I wouldn't do any ad lib remarks. And so, he was told, no matter what you do, don't talk about yourself. And he still almost did it.
Yeah. It's sickening. Speaking of talking about yourself, but let's talk a little bit about his commencement speech that he made over the weekend. I believe it was at West. I'm trying to remember exactly where this commencement speech was.
Yeah.
West Point, correct.
Yeah.
And there are some weird moments in this speech, but one that comes to my mind, Ron, is when he's talking about trophy wives. This is a commencement speech, and he goes into some weird diatribe about trophy wives. And by the way, I think most people would say he's had quite a few of those himself. What do you make of that? What are these weird rants? Can you imagine if like a Joe Biden did something like that at a commencement speech? What did you make of this speech in general and the gaffes and the weird comments that he made?
Well, I think that is exactly why he was warned at Arlington not to go off script, because they had a speech written for him for West Point, which was largely a foreign policy speech and a speech talking about military recruitment and the Golden Dome and things like that. But yet he continuously went off script and talked about crazy, bizarre shit over and over again. And so what became the headlines? What became the story, at least for Midas and a few other publications, was the trophy wife stuff. I mean, not for the New York Times or I think it was ABC or CBS, one of the two, Sane washed his speech and glossed over all of that stuff, the crazy stuff. But we didn't, because as we say often, our motto is we cover the crazy. Where mainstream media ignores the crazy, we cover the crazy. We show it to you in all its glory. So yeah, I mean, you're thinking about all these cadets and they're graduating and they're 22 years old. And some of these are some of the smartest, most patriotic people that are all great athletes, because you also have to be a great athlete to go through a service academy. If you've never been there, you see what these guys go through, men and women. It's just unbelievable. And so these are the best and the brightest. And yeah, he's up there talking about, oh, I had a rich friend, real estate, and he tried to retire, because he was talking about why he wouldn't retire, why he hasn't retired in his 70s. And he talked about his friend who was a rich real estate guy, and he retired, and then he was bored, so he went and got a trophy wife, and that ended in a bad divorce. This is what he's saying to these graduates, along with a lot of other insane things.
Just absolutely ridiculous. And correct me if I'm wrong before we move on here. Isn't it true, Ron, that Donald Trump playing golf again over the weekend and on vacation and on taxpayer dollar playing some more golf?
Yeah, he played golf Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And he was the first president to leave the speech without shaking hands of the graduates. Biden shook hands of all 1,000 graduates. It's right around 1,000, like 1,100. Obama did the same thing, stayed after, shook the hand of every single graduate. Because look, they've gone through 4 years to get to this point. And these are the future leaders of the country, of the U.S. military and the country. And so, yeah, you owe him at least that, as the commander in chief, I think, But of course, what does Trump say? Trump says at the end, I'd like to stay and shake your hands. What he says. He says, I've got to go deal with some pressing issues about China and Russia. That's what he told them, why he couldn't shake their hands. And then he went straight to the golf course. And he has nothing on his schedule today. Today's supposed to be the first day back at work for most Americans. Nothing on his schedule. We can't find any public events, nothing that he's doing. And we're pretty sure he's on the golf course today for day 4 in a row. And we're working right now on our sources to try and get some video of him out there today.
Yeah, and this was the guy who complained every day about all the golf that Barack Obama played. Meanwhile, Donald Trump played more golf in 4 years than Obama played in 8. Ron, I have to ask you at least one question about cosplay Kristi Noem. There's a picture circulating online. I think you posted it on your X account as well. She's on a camel dressed in her outfit. What do you make of this, another cosplay moment for Kristi Noem?
So I see her over there in Israel over the weekend, and I'm like, what is she doing? And she's the Homeland Security.
Right.
Like, why is she in Israel? And then she gave some bullshit reason. And then she's like in Qatar on a camel, riding through the desert. And then she's out on like a boat somewhere over there with camouflage on it, with the IDF, with the Israeli Defense Force. Not in a boat. She's in like a military vehicle, but all camoed out. And it's just like, what is she? And then, so while she's doing that, by the way, RFK is down in Argentina, celebrating the fact that they are following us out of the World Health Organization. So, I mean, we have these cabinet secretaries, they don't know their agencies. They don't know their jobs. They have no clue what they're doing. And so they're just flying around the world doing all these photo ops, having the time of their life. I mean, and we're paying for all of it. I have no idea what she's doing over there. The only thing I can think of is she was mocked and shamed so much, including on Fox News by Laura Ingraham and including Megyn Kelly, who were trashing her for all of her stunts. So maybe she went over there thinking maybe she could get away with it over there. And by the way, you know, the DHS headquarters in DC has big blown up photographs of her in her outfits all over the building now.
Just absolutely embarrassing. It's like a Saturday Night Live skit, Ron. Speaking of Saturday Night Live skits, it almost appears as though, let's talk a little bit about Sheriff Scott Jenkins, who just got a pardon. You want to talk about the definition of corruption, and Donald Trump is defending him and his family when he was already found guilty in a court of law. What do you make about this pardon?
So, yeah, today was the day he was supposed to go to prison for 10 years. He's a sheriff in a rural county in Virginia, and he was selling badges to businessmen. Basically, you know, it was all these like rich businessmen in these small towns in his county that wanted to drive and break down lanes. They wanted to run red lights. They wanted to park in handicapped spaces. They wanted to flash badges to get out of speeding tickets when they were in other states driving around. You know, they whip out their badge and they don't get a ticket. So they were paying this guy thousands of dollars for these they were actually real law enforcement badges. And so finally the FBI got wind of this and they did a little sting and they sent an FBI undercover agent in there and bribed him and got a badge and busted him. It went to trial. He was convicted. He had no remorse. He got sentenced to 10. He took in over 75 grand for these badges. And he's also a MAGA Republican Trump supporter. So, you know, the day he's supposed to turn himself in, Ed Martin, who was the DC U.S. attorney who could not get confirmed by the Senate because he was so wacky, who's now in charge of pardons, gave him a pardon, recommended him for a pardon, and Trump pardoned him. No reason for the pardon whatsoever. Just, you know, literally every Republican elected official who has ever been convicted of fraud or bribery in the last 10 years has already been pardoned by Trump, with the exception of George Santos, who has a turn-in date in 60 days. So stay tuned because he might be next.
Yeah, and I've talked to George on and off the air, and I do believe he will eventually get a pardon, but we'll have to wait and see what happens there.
I'll just tell you a footnote on that. I think the only reason why he hasn't is because a lot of the people that George scammed were big Trump donors.
I've talked to George about that off the air. He disagrees, but you know, I have asked him.
Well, of course he disagrees, but if you talk to Elise Stefanik, she doesn't disagree with that. She hates George Santos, and I think that she's also blocking his pardon.
Before I ask you one more question, Ron, it's interesting you bring this up because if you remember the Michelle Fiore story, this was the MAGA Republican in Nevada, correct, who got a pardon. And it was our own.
There's another one. That's right.
Yeah. But here's what's interesting about this, Ron, because our own Republican governor, Joe Lombardo, said in a courtroom in the trial that he was a victim. He donated to this fund for police officers for 2 fallen officers in a statue. He said in a courtroom he was the victim. And then Trump still gives her a pardon. And then our Republican governor doesn't say anything about it, doesn't criticize Donald Trump. Absolutely insane, Ron. Absolutely insane. Before I let you go, I did want to ask you a little bit about this. So Donald Trump said today he's threatening to withhold federal funds from the state of California over a transgender athlete's participation in an upcoming sporting event. You know, I was asked about this on Piers Morgan a number of times. I've done their show. And I always say this isn't a top 5 issue. It's not a top 10 issue. Yet here they are again talking about transgender athletes. What are there, like 13 or 14 of them in all of Division I sports? Yet Donald Trump is talking about withholding funds today. What do you make of this story?
It's, you know, for a long time, my position on this was it's really up to the sports leagues to decide eligibility requirements for their athletes. But I've really kind of changed my mind about this, especially after the 2024 election and talking to Martina Navratilova, who I know, and, you know, the fact that I've coached my daughters in youth sports and stuff and reflecting back on that. And I and how Trump used it during the campaign. Look, he spent by far the most money on ads on one issue, and that was migrant crime, right? That's where he spent the vast majority of money on ads. But people don't even realize this. Number two was this issue, was trans athletes. And as you said, there's only like a couple of dozen throughout the whole United States, but they spent literally like tens of millions of dollars on ads on this issue. And the reason why they do it is because most polls show it's an 80-20 issue where 80% of the country is dead set against it. And I understand their position. And like, you take somebody like Martina, who's a progressive liberal Democrat, who is with the Democrats on every issue, who thinks that Democrats are absolutely insane on this issue. And I think she makes a lot of good points, and she's approaching it from the perspective of women's rights. It's like women spend all these years training and private coaches and working hard and getting to this level. And, it means a lot to them.
Sure.
And to then be defeated by someone who was competing as a male 2 years before is a hard pill to swallow for them, for their coaches and their parents and their families. So I get it. And so I just think that although the behavior and the comments by Republicans has been reprehensible about this issue, it's a losing issue politically for Democrats. And they're just going to have to, I think they're just going to have to move on from it and just say, no, we can't do this. Now, I think that they should be fully able to participate in recreational sporting events or anything like that. They want to run in the Boston Marathon. That's fine. But what I'm talking about are the competitive things where, college and Olympic level stuff,
Yep. And I agree with Martina Navratilova. I've interviewed her as well, and I'm on her side on this one. And I agree with you. I agree with everything you just said. My issue is people like Riley Gaines. Nobody would know who Riley Gaines was.
They weaponize it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Gaines has made millions of dollars making speeches and going after transgenders in sports, but yet Donald Trump, liable sexual abuser, Donald Trump attacking women on looks, Donald Trump not giving women the right to choose, even women that are raped or the victim of incest. You'll never hear Riley Gaines complain about that, but she'll talk about transgender athletes in women's sports. And I just think these people are sick, Ron. They're sick.
Not only that, let me tell you about something else that Don Jr. is cooking up. I don't know if you heard about this, but he is coming out. He has a business venture that he's doing with some other guys called the Performance Enhancing Drug Olympics. Have you heard about this?
No.
Where they're going to do a series of this is big. Junior is hyping this. They're going to do a series of athletic contests where there's no rules about drugs. You can take whatever steroids, growth hormone, whatever you want, and you're going to be able to compete in these sporting events. And what he thinks is that this is going to blow away regular sporting events because people are going to see these enhanced athletes doing these amazing things like running 100-yard dashes and shattering world records. And they're going to find that a lot more interesting. So it's basically like no rules. You can take whatever drugs you want, competition. And this is one of his business ventures. So it's kind of surprising for them to be doing that at the same time they're complaining about trans athletes, Well,
but, allegedly, I would say if there's anybody that knew a thing or two about how drugs cannot enhance your performance, it would probably be Don Jr. And I guess we'll leave it at that. But that I did not hear about that, Ron. I'll have to look a little bit more into
Look
that.
it up. It's real.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll do very, very well. And I'm sure a lot of people in Donald Trump's family will be playing in some of those events as well. But anyway, Ron, always a pleasure, my friend. Glad to hear you had a good weekend. Let you get back to work. Always appreciate the time. We'll catch you next week. Okay.
Okay. We'll see you.
Thanks, Ron. Appreciate you. There you go, everybody. Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch. They are the best. Boy, we got some great guests lined up the rest of the week, too. By the way, Wajahat Ali will be joining us on the show tomorrow. Love Wajahat. He is absolutely, at least in my opinion, one of the best in the business. There's no doubt about that. And Jesse Dollemore will be joining us on the show this week as well. I've been wanting to get Jesse Dollemore on the show for a while now, and he's going to be joining us on Thursday. And then on Friday, Friday's going to be very interesting. So, as you know, I've had Enrique Tarrio on this show a few times. He is the leader of the Proud Boys, and he went on social media after the announcement was made that Joe Biden had cancer, and he was celebrating. So I'm going to rip him a new one. He knows I'm going to. He's going to try to defend himself. I told him that's what we're going to talk about. And Enrique Tarrio, the leader of the Proud Boys, who was convicted of seditious conspiracy, will be joining us on the show Friday. So certainly look forward to that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So Donald Trump has been saying ever since he put his name back in the ring to become president of the United States for a second time that he would end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. In fact, he said he would end the war and all he had to do was pick up the phone and call Vladimir Putin and the war would be over. Well, as you know, not only has that not happened, but you could make the argument the war in Ukraine right now is worse now than it was on day one. And every single time Donald Trump says Putin wants peace, there seems to be another airstrike or another bombing where innocent women and children are dead. Well, guess what? That happened again over the weekend. So what was Donald Trump's response? Well, all of a sudden he says now he's just so surprised that an evil, murderous dictator would want to kill innocent people. Have a listen to this.
Ukraine as well.
Yeah, I'll give you an update. I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
President, what do you want to do about
And I'm
that?
surprised. I'm very surprised. We'll see what we're going to do. What am I going to tell you? You're the fake news, aren't you? You're totally fake. All right, any other questions? I don't like what Putin is doing, not even a little bit. He's killing people. And something happened to this guy, and I don't like it.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Vladdy, cut it out. Knock it off. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do because you're the fake news. Oh, yeah, Donnie, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it, huh? What are the sanctions? What are you going to do about it? Except, hey, Vladdy, cut it out. Knock it off. The Kremlin is laughing at you because you are pathetic and you're an effing idiot. The Kremlin's laughing at you. The world is laughing at you. Sane people with an IQ over 20 are crying and laughing at the same time. You never had a plan. You thought because he coddled you and he was nice to you that he was going to do what you told him to do. You moron. You were played. And because of your behavior and because you won't hold Russia accountable, because you've blamed Ukraine and you've called Zelensky the dictator, more innocent people are dying in Ukraine every single day because of you, because you've coddled Vladimir Putin and your mega moron friends who say, oh, there's nobody harder on Russia than than Donald Trump. That was a lie. It's a joke and it's an embarrassment. And Donald Trump is all of a sudden surprised. I thought he was a really nice guy. He's an evil, murderous dictator who is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people, including journalists in his own country, and somehow you're surprised at this? That would be like back in the day saying, boy, I'm really surprised that Adolf Hitler is killing innocent Jews. I'm really surprised at that. That's what Donald Trump sounds like. He's such an imbecile, and he has absolutely and positively no plan. And speaking of idiocy, Donald Trump went into a diatribe talking about steel, and then he brought up Nissan cars. Maybe he doesn't know that Nissan isn't a steel manufacturer. Have a listen to this.
Another question. You announced on Friday about U.S. Steel and Nippon Steel.
Yeah.
What will the ownership structure look like? What made you think?
It'll be controlled by the United States. Otherwise, I wouldn't make the deal. I went to the unions, to all of the local unions. They all wanted it. And I'm doing it because all of the congressmen came in, about 5 of them, and the others, I understand, are in concurrence, and they asked that I do it. Everybody seems to want it, and we'll see. I mean, we'll see what the final is. But they're going to invest billions of dollars in steel, and it's a good company. Nissan's a very good company. We'll see. But it's an investment, and it's a partial ownership, but it'll be controlled by the USA.
It's Nippon, you idiot, not Nissan. Nissan is a car manufacturer, you orange orangutan fool, you. It's Nippon. That's the steel. It's not Nissan, you idiot. Imagine if Joe Biden made a statement like that, but you won't hear any of these gaffes on Fox News or Newsmax or OAN or Mark Levin or Sean Hannity or any other right-wing echo chamber show, national or a local show here that gets 4 listeners. You won't hear them talk about this, but they'll talk about Joe Biden and the Jake Tapper book. But every single time Donald Trump makes a speech and has gaffes, literally every time he talks to the media, they completely ignore it and they don't talk about it. And then there comes Riley Gaines, and there's a reason why I'm playing this audio, and the reason why I'm playing some Riley Gaines audio is because the statements that Donald Trump made at the commencement speech at West Point over the weekend. But you see, Riley Gaines has a problem with Kermit the Frog. Now, let me be very clear about Riley Gaines for a moment. The only reason why anybody knows who Riley Gaines is not because she was a college swimmer. I think most sports fans couldn't name one college swimmer right now in the country. But the reason why we know who Riley Gaines is not because of her swimming prowess. It's because she attacks the trans community on a daily basis. Literally every day, she's all over the country making money, selling books, and making speeches attacking trans people. And while I agree that if you're a trans female, you probably shouldn't be competing with other females on the playing field, she is disgusting, and her rhetoric attacking the trans community every day, I would call her the white version of Candace Owens. She's a grifter. And that's the only reason why any of us know who she is. So what was she talking about on Fox News? Was she talking about the war in Ukraine where more innocent women and children died over the weekend? Was she talking about our brave men and women in uniform and those who have paid the ultimate price in losing their lives? No. Riley Gaines was talking about how enraged she is that Kermit the Frog was speaking at a commencement. Have a listen to this.
Not bad, Riley. What do you think?
Imagine being a 22-year-old student who is graduating with your degree in aerospace engineering, and a frog from the Muppets is on stage telling you to stay connected with your people. I mean, you can't even make this up. Instead of honoring entrepreneurs or veterans or innovators, they picked Kermit the Frog. We have students who are drowning in debt, who are struggling to find jobs, and universities are handing the mic to puppets. Not puppets like many Democratic elected leaders, like a real puppet. It's all theater, literally. So I see this as the same institutions who have been pushing political agendas and cancel culture now want to use a puppet to inspire students. It's unserious, it's out of touch, and frankly, it's insulting.
Unserious, out of touch, and insulting. Listen to Gaines complaining about Kermit the Frog. Now, did you hear Riley Gaines talking about unserious and out of touch when Donald Trump at a commencement speech over the weekend started talking about trophy wives? By the way, he currently has one of his own, and he's had others in the past as well. But you didn't hear Riley Gaines talking about that. You heard her complaining about Kermit the Frog, because don't get me wrong, folks. She's so right. I mean, that's tops on everybody's mind, right? Kermit the Frog making a commencement speech at a college is on everybody's mind. Riley Gaines is an imbecile, but you won't hear Riley Gaines complaining about a real-life person, in this case, the orange orangutan clown, Donald Trump, talking about trophy wives at a commencement speech. Have a listen to this.
And he had nothing to do. He ended up getting a divorce, found a new wife. Could you say a trophy wife? I guess we can say a trophy wife. It didn't work out too well, but it doesn't, and that doesn't work out too well. I must tell you, a lot of trophy wives doesn't work out, but it made him happy for a little while at least. But he found a new wife. He sold his little boat and he got a big yacht. He had one of the biggest yachts anywhere in the world.
And they were bitching about Kermit the Frog making a speech at Maryland. Imagine attending West Point for 4 years. And Donald Trump is lecturing about all of his divorce settlements. That's really what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen. It's sad. It's sick. Riley Gaines is an imbecile, and any other right-wing turd who decides to complain about Kermit the Frog is probably the same idiot who has no problem with Donald Trump talking about his trophy wives or trophy wives in general. It's just absolutely absurd. But again, Donald Trump talking about what's on everybody's mind and the biggest issues in this country, right, at a commencement ceremony. He's talking about drag shows. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. The culture war is continuing. He brought up drag shows. Have a listen to this.
The job of the U.S. Armed Forces is not to host drag shows, to transform foreign cultures, but to spread democracy to everybody around the world at the point of a gun. The military's job is to dominate any foe and annihilate any threat to America anywhere, anytime, and any place.
Huh? Come again? What does that have to do with drag? I don't understand. Play that one more time. I'm sorry, I don't follow. Can we listen to that one more time? After the MAGA idiots are done clapping. By the way, it sounds like 4 of them.
The job of the U.S. Armed Forces is not to host drag shows, to transform foreign cultures, but to spread democracy to everybody around the world at the point of a gun. The military's job is to dominate any foe and annihilate any threat to America anywhere, anytime, and any place.
Interesting to me. Very interesting. I didn't know that, so I'm glad I got educated by Donald Trump on that one. But yeah, you have to listen. If you're a part of the MAGA Republican cult, you have to bring up drag shows. By the way, U.S. Armed Forces, are they doing drag shows at, I don't know, every base, military base? I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just asking. I was completely unaware of that. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe you guys could help me out with that one. We always hear about the gaffes, right? We still hear about Joe Biden. He was incompetent. Joe Biden this, Joe Biden that. Donald Trump forgot where he made his last commencement speech. He mixed up one college university with the other one. I guess he's in the bunker and he's got Alzheimer's. Have a listen.
Army careers. And I thought I'd do this, and I can make this to a civilian audience or to a military audience. It's pretty much the same. And I did this recently at Ohio State, and they really liked it. I gave them a little advice as to what I see for what you want to do and some tips. And first of all, and you've already done it, different from civilians, they're making their decision right now. You've already made your decision. I love your decision. You have to do what you love. You have to do what you love. If you don't love it, you'll never be successful at it. And you've done this, and you really, many of you in the audience, many of you that are graduating, you come from military backgrounds or you love the military. It's what you want to do. It's what you want to talk about. One thing I see about people that love the military, that's all they want to talk about. I'll be out to dinner, and generals, if they love their job, usually the only good ones are the ones that want to talk about it all the time. But if they talk, that's what they want to talk about.
What a bumbling idiot word salad. By the way, you orange orangutan adjudicated rapist fool, you. That was Alabama's commencement at the University of Alabama. It wasn't Ohio State, you idiot. Guy doesn't even remember where he is. Maybe he should get a cognitive test, huh? Oh, I'm sure he'll ace it, just like he's 239 pounds. Yeah, I'm sure. And then here's the point of the speech where he starts bragging about all these trade deals and how great they're doing on trade, where they literally haven't made any deals. Listen to this.
Gone are the days where defending every nation but our own was the primary thought. We are putting America first. We have to put America first. We have to rebuild and defend our nation. And very shortly, you're going to see a nation better than it's ever been. And you see that with the trade. For years, we've been ripped off by every nation in the world on trade. We've been ripped off at the NATO level. We've been ripped off like no country has ever been ripped off, but they don't rip us off anymore. They're not going to rip us off anymore. And you're seeing it. You have to watch what we're doing on trade. I know it's not your primary thing, but it's quite important in all fairness. But watch, you'll see what's going on. Been reading about it over the last few days. We're making deals with other nations that were nobody thought it would be even possible. And the reason is very simple. They respect us again. They're respecting our country again. That's what you want. And everything we do, we are bringing common sense back to America.
Wait, what deals is Donald Trump talking about? Come again? What deals? Can you please explain, Mr. President? Remember all the countries you said they're all kissing your ass and they want to make a deal? What deals have you made, Mr. President? I haven't really heard of any real deals. President Xi won't even talk to you. What deals have you made? You caved to China. You're caving on these tariffs. You put them on a pause. Can you please tell me what deals you've made? Oh, wait a second. We were told 90 deals in 90 days. You haven't made any deals. I'm just wondering. They keep talking about all these deals that are going to be made, just like they're talking about Doge and all the $2 trillion that they're saving. We're going to lower the price of gas. We're going to lower the price of prescription drugs. We're going to lower the price of inflation. We're going to lower your taxes. We're going to hire a special prosecutor to go after Hillary Clinton. We're going to build a wall, and Mexico is going to pay for it. Gosh, what happened to all these promises? No tax on tips. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. What happened to all these promises? It doesn't seem like they've been fulfilled. Oh, wait. He did do one thing, though. He did pardon some January 6th insurrectionists and some who beat police officers with their own batons. So give him credit. He did do that. Oh, wait. He's also, throwing people out of the country and deporting them without due process, sending them to El Salvador prisons. Oh, he's doing that. Yeah, he's doing that very well. He's ripping up parts of our Constitution, and he's breaking the law, and he's defying the Supreme Court. He's done a good job at that. Oh, and speaking of pardons, ladies and gentlemen, have you heard of this guy? That's right. Donald Trump has issued a full pardon to a guy by the name of Sheriff Scott Jenkins, who was literally convicted of corruption. Because in America, if you are a MAGA Republican, corruption is totally okay. Have a listen to this story.
Who's Scott Jenkins? Well, he's the former sheriff of Culpeper County, Virginia. And back in December, a jury found Jenkins guilty of taking bribes in exchange for appointing several people as auxiliary deputy sheriffs. In March, a judge sentenced him to 10 years in federal prison. Now, President Trump claims Jenkins was the victim of what we're quoting here. He said, an overzealous Biden Department of Justice.
Of course, because when you're caught red-handed, getting bribes and accepting bribes, and you're convicted in a court of law, you have to blame somebody. You can't blame the person who did it because this guy's a white MAGA Republican idiot and a criminal. So who does he blame? Joe Biden. Same thing with all these other pardons. It is a joke. It's despicable, and it's disgusting. So we're going to take some phone calls on the other side of the break, 702-221-7283. Again, the number to call, 702-221-7283. I want to thank our sponsor of this segment, Bloody Shirts. So what exactly are Bloody Shirts? Well, let me explain. The website's bloody-shirt.com. It's a protest apparel and some visual ammunition to ridicule Donald Trump and his supporters. And I've seen some of these shirt designs. They're funny, they're hilarious, and they're great. Bloody Shirt is about freedom of speech without fear. They offer compelling designs on 100% cotton T-shirts at $45, hoodies for $60, and the proceeds will help fund the resistance. So please check them out. Again, it's bloody-shirt.com. Again, bloody-shirt.com. You will love the designs. You will love the shirts, and we certainly want to hear about them. And thank you to their sponsor of the show. Your phone calls on the other side at 702-221-7283. We're also going to go to the YouTube Super Chat when we come back. You could also check out the website, which is pushingthelimits.live. At pushingthelimits.live, we also sell merch on there, shirts, hats, beanies. I'm sorry, no Trump Bibles. I tried to get them up there, but, we just couldn't do it. It was too expensive. But we do sell all sorts of different PTL merchandise. You could also make donations because this is a private entity show, and we rely on good people like you at pushingthelimits.live where you can make donations. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side with your phone calls. And what are we talking about today? Well, of course, we'll talk about that pardon. We're getting your thoughts on that. Sheriff Scott Jenkins getting a pardon. Kristi Noem on camels. We'll talk about that, the cosplay Kristi Noem. And, of course, Donald Trump surprised that Vladimir Putin doesn't want peace. He's shocked. We'll talk about that reaction and much, much more on the other side. Again, that number 702-221-SAVE. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back in 90 seconds. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
Discover the art of flawless beauty at Beauty by Thread in Las Vegas. Specializing in eyebrow threading, the skilled professionals will give you the perfect arch every time. Whether it's your brows, upper lip, neck, or full face, Beauty by Thread has you covered. Located in the heart of Las Vegas at 7415 South Durango, Unit 101. Hours are Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. by appointment only. So book your appointment today with Helen by calling or texting her at 714-470-1369. And don't forget to mention KSHP.
At The Human Bean, our mission is to serve up specialty coffee and smiles with a bean on top. With a bean on top is more than just a delicious chocolate-covered espresso bean. It's our way of saying thank you and of seeking to make your day, one drink at a time. Have you had a bean on top moment today? The Human Bean, with 2 Las Vegas locations, 5602 West Charleston and Lindell, and 5265 Camino El Norte in Washburn.
All right, welcome back. It is PTL on a very busy news day on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. I mentioned Wajahat Ali is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. He is phenomenal. And I've been wanting getting Jesse Dollamore on the show, and he's going to be joining us Thursday. The leader of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, is going to be joining us on the show on Friday. JoJo from Jurors is going to be joining us on Monday, and we are working on getting Jasmine Crockett on the show next week as well. So a lot of special guests coming up, and I want to thank our sponsors over here at Pushing the Limits, the official gaming bar of the PTL radio show. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, home of the $20 ribeye steak. They haven't raised the price in 8 years, comes with a side and veggies, and we know that you're going to enjoy it. Check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill. Great promotions and great food. Check them out. Thank you to Lori for your super chat donation. Lori says, disgusted that he wore that MAGA hat during the commencement speech at West Point. Well, you're right about that, and I really didn't even think about that, Lori. I agree with you, completely inappropriate. The Weirdo says, why do we listen to Riley Gaines at all? I didn't realize getting 5th place could catapult your fame. Yeah, well, it's not because she was a swimmer, obviously, and you understand what I'm saying. It has everything to do with her hate speech, and right-wingers seem to like it. Shelley says, I wish Kermit was president. I like green better than orange anyway. I tend to agree with you, Shelley. I like green. I'm a Boston Celtics fan, so of course I agree with you. All your other questions and comments will be heard in the YouTube Super Chat with your donations, and we appreciate your support. Before we open up the phone lines, again, what are we talking about today? A lot of different things. Trump's commencement speech, where he talked about trophy wives, went on more tangents. Of course, Sheriff Scott Jenkins getting a pardon. No explanation from the Trump administration as to why. Kristi Noem and her cosplaying on a camel over the weekend. and more lies from the far right, ladies and gentlemen. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's start off with David. David is first up on PTL. What's up, David?
Hey, I just want to let you know that I listen to you a lot and I love your show.
Thank you.
I'm a true Democrat, and I think our president has dementia. I don't think he knows what he's doing.
You're talking about in regards to the commencement speech over the weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like he sounded like he was talking to the Airport Academy, not the Army.
Yeah, well, it sounded like he was talking to his base, and you know that's the problem, right? If he wants to do the campaign rallies or hold rallies wherever to his clan cult, he can do that. But when you're making a commencement speech, it shouldn't be about politics, and it shouldn't be about attacking the other side. It should be about thanking those who are serving, especially on a Memorial Day weekend. And listen, he always makes it about himself. He could be at Arlington National Cemetery, and he makes it about himself. He could be stepping on the grave of an American soldier, and he would make it about himself. The man is a narcissist. He's mentally ill, and it's why he wakes up in the morning and puts on his 8 layers of orange makeup. He's a sick human being.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I want to let you know that I love when you get the mega idiots on your show that don't know what they're talking about.
Well, we try to do that as much as we can. Unfortunately, David, sometimes they're scared to call in, and maybe a few of them are brave enough to call in, but it usually doesn't go very well for them. But I always welcome it, David, and I appreciate the call. Thank you so much, my friend. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Again, that number is 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL. Hey, Mark, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
To the people in the chat and whoever's listening, please don't ever say have a happy memorial, because there's nothing happy about it. All right, we got to remember this is not a Christmas holiday.
True. Yep.
This is not a Hanukkah or anything like that. This is remembering soldiers who gave it all.
That's true.
And
I agree.
As far as I have 2 more things. Jesse Dollamore, can't wait to see him, man. Can't wait to be on the show. Fantastic. Former Marine, if you could ever be a former Marine, he was a Marine, and he has his stuff together. He's a great guy.
Yep, I'm looking forward to having him. Yep.
Yeah, he's really good. And the last thing I like to mention is that this is only for the people who served, and the people who never served, please understand this. This ain't disrespectful. It's the way it is. And to the first caller, when you address cadets out of West Point, you're not really talking to the Army, because soldiers, and it would be hard pressed to find a soldier or a veteran who respects a cadet. Okay, that's 100%, and we don't even respect second lieutenants, brother bars. It starts getting a little bit with first lieutenants, but we really start showing the respect for the rank of captain. But as far as cadets, they don't represent out of West Point the military, because they're like spoon-fed, silver spoons, and it's a whole different thing. I just want to make that clear.
You make a good point also, Mark. And by the way, thank you for your service on the Memorial Day weekend. We appreciate you, Mark, and what you've done for this country. And you're right. It's not really a celebration. It's a memory, right? It's a memory. That'd be kind of like saying, well, let's celebrate the anniversary of 9/11. No, it's a memorializing, and we're remembering those that we lost on that horrible day. And we're remembering the brave men and women in uniform. All right, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Zachary. Zachary next up on PTL. Hello, Zachary.
This is the bleeping playoff. It's win. Bleeping big, or we're going. Bleeping home. Step. Bleep off.
Can we have a bleeping?
Bleeping
Can we have a bleeping conversation, Zachary? Or okay. Thank you, Zachary. That was a wonderful phone call, by the way. I'm really happy to talk to Zachary. 702-221. I don't even really know what he said. That's the problem. I can't really respond to it because I really don't know what he was talking about. 702-221-7283. What a bleeping wonderful phone call. Again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Frank. I believe we have Frank next on PTL. Hey, Frank. Thanks for calling in, Frank. What's on your mind today?
How was your weekend? Was it good?
Yeah, it wasn't a bad weekend, actually. I had I would call it a relaxing weekend. Went out with a lovely lady over the weekend, had a good time. And
good for you.
Yeah, I had some fun and of course, had some good food. Hung out with some great people.
I saw the speech that Donald gave at the West Point. Horrible. That man is such a. He needs a cognitive test. Be honest with you, he really does.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine those brave young men and women having to listen to that bumbling orange orangutan rapist imbecile? Like, can you imagine having to sit through that? It's just you spill your guts out, and you're looking forward to a commencement speech, and you got to listen to that idiot. I mean, it really is
he rambled on. And one more thing, Brian. When he had his meme coin dinner last Thursday,
right. Yeah.
Do you remember how they laid out the immunity clause for him for his immunity?
So I don't, but I will tell you this. That is the definition of corruption. Because some people had to pay upwards of $1.5 million in order to get access to the president. This is a Ponzi scheme. They are stealing from the American people. This money, much of it will go directly to Donald Trump and members of his family. And I appreciate the phone call, sir. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Frank. Frank is next up on PTL. Oh, we just had Frank. Okay, let's go to Terry. Terry is next up on PTL. Hey, Terry. Okay, I think we just lost Terry. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Who are we going to, Nubchuck? Let's go to Carl. Carl is next. What's up, Carl?
Hey, Brian. Listen, I hope you're well. I went by for the first time. You mentioned Jackson's, and it's really a nice place. I hit a little jackpot. Not a big one, but, it was
good.
fun, and the food is great. I just want to let you know.
Good. I'm glad you had a good time, Carl.
Yeah, the reason I called, really, is don't be surprised that Trump is criticizing Putin. I'll tell you why, and this is probably the truth, is why he's doing it. He's getting a lot of kickback from a lot of Republican members of Congress and the Senate that he's too nice to Putin. And he's trying to show that he's really can be just the opposite. But he doesn't really mean it. It's all lies, obviously. But he's trying to appease the other members who are against Trump in his own party for the nice things he said about Putin.
Well,
constantly.
here's what's really unfortunate, and unfortunate's probably not the right word to use. But as you know, Vladimir Putin bombed Ukraine again over the weekend. We know that some innocent women and children lost their lives. And every single time Donald Trump says that Putin wants peace, more people are murdered. So it's MAGA Republicans that keep saying Trump is tougher on Russia than any other president, where I think it's the absolute opposite. If you appease Donald Trump and you're nice to him, you can play him. That's exactly what Putin has been doing now for years. And Donald Trump's only answer now is to say, I'm not happy with him, or Vladdy, knock it off, because he never really had a plan. And that's what makes this more unfortunate than anything.
Yeah, but Trump sees that some members of his own party are kind of backing off from Trump because of the things he's always making, saying how wonderful Putin is. And he's doing this to make them think that he's now all of a sudden against him.
Right.
Which is a complete lie.
Yeah, no, you're right. But that's
I
think we know that's all he does, my friend. I appreciate the call, Carl. Thank you. Just a quick reset here before we get back to the phone calls. So what are we talking about today? Well, obviously we're talking about Donald Trump's reaction to another incident in Ukraine where innocent women and children are dying because Vladimir Putin does not want to end the war. He doesn't want peace. He's been an evil dictator for decades, but yet Donald Trump still thinks he wants peace. And then Donald Trump says, well, maybe he doesn't want peace, and he seems surprised by it because he's an idiot. We're talking certainly about that. We're also talking about Donald Trump's commencement speeches and just his entire decorum and behavior over the weekend, where it's supposed to be about mourning the loss of our brave men and women who paid the ultimate price, and the widows and all the people in this country that are suffering and struggling. But Donald Trump didn't make it about that. He made it about him once again in his commencement speech, talking about Joe Biden. He talks about trophy wives. He goes on these weird tangents where he doesn't know what he's talking about. He forgets where he made his last commencement speech, confusing Ohio State with the University of Alabama. I mean, it goes on and on and on. The list goes on and on and on. And then his Truth Social tweet earlier today where he says, what Vladimir Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. And I mean really bad. He's playing with fire. He doesn't realize if it wasn't for him, Vladimir Putin is playing you and the Kremlin is laughing at you. You should look at the Kremlin's reaction. It's a joke. 702-221-7283, the number to call. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Michael. Michael's next on PTL. What's up, Michael?
Hey, Brian. I just want to say thanks for doing a great job. And I would like your opinion on something.
Sure.
I think the Democrats are going to lose the next election because they keep building up this propaganda that Joe Biden was flawed and didn't know his name, and they propped him up to run again. To me, there are different degrees of slippage. If I forget my keys, my car keys, do you say, oh, Michael forgot his car keys, he's unfit to drive anymore? The Democrats need a better message because they're pushing the narrative that Joe Biden was incompetent, yet we still want him to run again for president.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things to dissect there. I would start out by saying Jake Tapper in this book that's came out, in my opinion, with very little credibility at all. It's a book that's just out to make money, and I don't put a lot of credence to it. We also understand that Joe Biden should have stepped down a long time ago, and say what you want about Joe Biden. I think he has a lot of good qualities, but one of Joe Biden's biggest mistakes, and think that he's made ever since he was a politician, is that he didn't step down sooner. And the reason why was ego. He just wasn't willing to step down. Yeah. Kamala Harris didn't have enough time. The people would have decided who was going to be running against Donald Trump, and unfortunately, they never got that opportunity. It was a big mistake that Joe Biden made. I've been saying that for a while now, and I don't blame that on Kamala Harris. Now, members of her campaign that ran her campaign, I thought some of them did not do a great job. But with that being said, it wasn't her fault. And yes, I truly believe Joe Biden's legacy is tarnished by that. I really do believe that. With that being said, moving forward now, they got to worry about the midterms. That's what's next. They have to worry about the midterms. They have to worry about the next step. And, there are some that I think are doing a pretty good job, and there are some that are not. But if you ask me right now, how are the midterms going to go? I would still give a little bit of an edge to Democrats because, listen, the economy is not doing what Donald Trump said the economy would be doing. There's a lot of people still that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. He has not lowered the price of gas or inflation or eggs. Well, eggs are down 80%. Yeah, compared to a month ago, eggs might be down, but it doesn't mean they're down since day one. So, I think Democrats need to keep fighting. And I think there's too many of them that are, I'm not going to use the term coward, but there's too many of them that are not willing to fight. And if you're not willing to fight, then we're going to get another MAGA Republican in office in 2028. That's my opinion there.
Yeah, and I agree with all the facts, which you are presenting facts. But like when I'm in the barbershop, when I'm out and we talk about facts, the next thing out people's mouth is, well, they lied about Joe Biden. And it's like, but when you weigh the two. But anyway, I don't want to belabor it, but I'm just worried about regular people ignoring the facts, and the only thing they hear is the Democrats are liars because they hid Joe Biden's illness or his decline from us. And I think they're going to not remember the facts when it comes voting time.
No doubt. Democrats need to focus on the midterms. That's what it is. And they got to keep harping on the threat that is Donald Trump to this country. And if they continue to stay on message and do that, then I'm hopeful. But we'll have to wait and see what happens, my friend. And I really do appreciate your call. Thank you so much. Number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump says, doesn't realize that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. Think about all the bad things that are happening to Ukraine right now. But Donald Trump is really tough, right? Donald Trump is really tough on Russia. It's an absolute joke. Again, 702-221-SAVE. And as I mentioned earlier, we are also talking about the way Donald Trump handled Memorial Day weekend. And I'll say this, ladies and gentlemen, and frankly, I don't care whether you're a Donald Trump supporter or not. Donald Trump is the guy that dodged the military multiple times with his fake bone spurs. Donald Trump is the guy that called our brave men and women in uniform suckers and losers. Donald Trump is the guy, in talking about John McCain, says, I don't respect John McCain because he was captured. Donald Trump is the guy that continually craps on our military. He doesn't respect those who paid the ultimate price. All right, number to call 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Joseph. Joseph is next up on PTL. Hey, Joseph.
Hey, Brian. I just want to tell you first off, thank you for doing what you do to try to reach out to people who already know, like me, but people who don't know, like the MAGA supporters are constantly trolling you. I just got to tell you, thank you for dealing with them.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll tell you my story.
Uh-oh, we lost your story, my friend. We got disconnected. That wasn't Numchuck's fault, I promise you. Call back, my friend, and we'll get that story for you, okay? We did not hang up on you. I actually wanted to hear your story. Call back, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Todd. Todd is next up on PTL. What's going on, Todd?
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Todd, what's going on?
Hello. Hey. That member of the speech from Trump was just, it actually made me ill. I just want to quickly say, I was raised by my grandparents, my grandfather, the centennial, it was 2014, I think, 100 years since World War I, and he's a veteran, and I remember him just saying, 100 years, and all we've learned is that we can't stop fighting. And it was just a quote that he said that I found really, really great. And then there's, Trump, and it's just like the veterans. Like, I can't imagine being a veteran and then listen to that fool. But
you know what? Yeah. I agree with you, but I am amazed at how many people that did serve that voted for Donald Trump. I say the same thing about women. When you look at the liable sexual abuse and all the allegations of sexual assault, when you look at the way he's treated women his whole life, 53% of women that went to the voting booth voted for Donald Trump. 53% of white women. Now, 93% of black women did not vote for Donald Trump, and I give them all the credit in the world. But, yeah.
Is it an addiction like religion or something? Like, are they addicted to
I don't know if I don't know if it's addiction. I think a lot of these people have hate in their heart, not all of them. I think a lot of them are ill-informed and uneducated, and they were born a certain way, not the way that I would imagine you and I were raised. So there is a lot of hatred in their heart. I would also.
You were raised right. You were raised very well.
I appreciate.
I can tell every time I hear you speak.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. That's very nice of you. But listen, I was raised to not judge people based on skin color. I was raised to not judge people based on sexuality. I was raised to judge people based on how they treat others, their character. Sure. And listen. Part of who I am is if somebody does me wrong, I am going to do them wrong. And maybe that's an immature way of living. But I don't like putting up with BS, right? And
eye for an eye.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't like putting up with it. And I think there's too many people that might be anti-Trump that just put up with it, and I'm not one of them. I would like to see that more with the Democrats.
Forever, they'll keep doing it, right? Like they'll never stop if no one stops.
Well, yeah. It's like the schoolyard. Listen, my friend, it's like the schoolyard bully, right? The bully is going to keep going after you at recess until you stand up for yourself, right? I remember I was growing up. I wasn't really bullied at all. No more than any other person, but I remember I was like 11 or 12 years old, and I was raised in a city where it was predominantly black, and I was treated great. But there were some bullies in middle school, and I remember there was one bully who always said, "You suck. You're not an athlete. You can't do this." Never picked me to play basketball. And then I said, "Okay, let's play a little one-on-one. Let's play a game right now." And everybody was watching. And I said, "What, are you scared? Let's go." And I beat him. And then all of a sudden I was getting picked to play in basketball. All of a sudden I was a pretty good basketball player when I was younger. Not now. I'm old now, but it changed everything for me, and I was respected. And I was treated great. And I became a decent basketball player. I was a pretty good high school player. I wasn't good enough to play college. I played other sports in college, but the point I'm trying to make is this. You need to assert yourself early. If somebody, for example, on Pierce Morgan's show, a guy by the name of Brandon Tatum, a black MAGA buffoon who is the male version of Candace Owens, said I had Trump derangement syndrome. I immediately said he had Trump fellatio syndrome, and then all of a sudden he lost his mind.
He flattened that guy so fast.
Yeah, I would imagine he probably won't be saying I have Trump derangement syndrome anymore, because most people he says that to, they don't come back with anything. He's a grifter, and I told him to wipe his mouth, and he wears the Trump knee pads 24/7. I don't allow people to play that game with me, and I wish everyone, you can have your own way of going at it with certain people that you disagree with. I'm not saying you have to say that, but have your own way of doing it. Don't just take it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Can I say something quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
you're kind of like an antidepressant, man.
Oh.
You're like just watching your show and listening to what you have to say and finding.
I'm probably
so there's other
safer.
people like that. Like, it's actually like very. Yeah, you're definitely safer than a pharmacist.
I'm probably safer
like
than taking antidepressants. Yeah. As long as I'm not the depressor. As long as women aren't watching and saying, "Boy, that guy Brian Shapiro, that guy Brian Shapiro, he really depresses me." No, I hope not. You know what? I get a lot of people on YouTube and on social media that. When they say those kinds of things that you just said, it actually means a lot to me and it humbles me. And if I can make your day a little bit better.
You mean a lot to us, man. You mean a lot to us. You really help heal in this crazy, silly world that as a Canadian, I am sorry for the state of your country, and sorry for people like you that have to with a brain in your nut that have to deal with this.
Well, you guys, that's kind of you. You guys in Canada are great people, and I'll always support you guys. And I learned something on my YouTube page that like 20% of all the people that are on my YouTube page that are subscribers and listeners are from Canada. So I owe you guys a great bit of gratitude, and I appreciate you. No money on the YouTube Super Chat says, Brian, we have a movement signing up for Trump's Bigly parade for tickets and not going to the protest instead. I'll be in Vegas in August for a week, going to Jackson's for dinner one night. Well, thank you, No Money. I'm sure the people at Jackson's will greatly appreciate that. It is a great place, and you'll enjoy the food and the atmosphere there. It's awesome, and tell them I sent you. Thank you, No Money. We appreciate you. 702-221-7283, and again, the number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, it's 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Bob. Bob is next up on PTL. What's going on, Bob?
Hi, Brian. I appreciate your show, and Elbows Up, Canada.
Thank you.
I can't stand Trump's voice. It just makes I want to bash my head against the wall. It's no, he talks like a 2-year-old, you know. We're talking about James Comey last week. I tried calling in. It's his fault that we're in this predicament when he launched that investigation into Hillary. 3 weeks before the election? He deserves everything he's getting.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was actually less than that. It was a lesser time than that. That really hurt her. I don't know if she would have won or not, but that certainly hurt her chances, and I don't think anybody will forget that. But let's also remember that Hillary Clinton made a lot of mistakes on her campaign. She had plenty of time to run and to campaign, and she didn't do the interviews that she needed to do. I thought the campaign that she ran was not targeted in the places she needed to go. I don't think she resonated with a lot of people, certainly overqualified, and obviously I would have rather had her in office. I would vote for a ham sandwich over Donald Trump. Hillary's a very intelligent lady and overqualified for the position, to be quite frank. But it would have changed the course of history. It didn't happen, and now we're in the situation we're in now, and it's devastating to a lot of people.
I'm not a big Bruce Springsteen fan, but you know what? People need to talk to him the way he talks to other people. Stand up to this moron. Give him the crap right back. Even the reporters, they're spineless. It would be cool if the day of his birthday with the big military parade, that Taylor Swift and Bruce Springsteen and all the people he disses has a concert for free and donates all the money.
Yeah, it's sick. And somebody on social media just said, Brian, didn't you vote for Donald Trump in 2016? No, I didn't. Never have I said I've ever voted for Donald Trump. That is absolutely and factually inaccurate. I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton either, but I did not vote for Donald Trump. I never did vote for him. I never will vote for him. But you guys could still vote for your orange orangutan adjudicated rapist if you want to. Many of you have no moral compass if you're still supporting that man.
Brian, I call him Trumple Thinskin. So.
Yeah, there you go. There's a lot of different nicknames we can have for him. Hey, I appreciate you calling in, my friend. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Michael. I believe Michael is next up on PTL. Hi, Michael.
Yeah. Hi, how you doing?
Hey, good.
Listen, why do we have such a coward for a president?
Because we have a lot of idiots who voted for him, that's why.
You got that right. He's nothing but a crook, a coward, a rapist, a thief. And I said this in front of 5 conservatives 4 years ago at a Civil War show in Fredericksburg. Not one of them said a word back to me.
Well, you're right. And
his father paid off the draft board so he didn't have to go in the draft.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of different reasons why people voted for Donald Trump. Obviously, I don't agree with any of them.
I don't either.
But what frustrates me is why they still support him now. Now, not all of them who voted for Donald Trump do, but how so many of them can still support this man. I think that there's a lot of things that are concerning to me: freedom of speech, going after people that don't support him. But even worse than that, people not getting due process. Like that's the part. I mean, imagine if you're a family member of someone who didn't get any due process, whether they're illegal or not, and being sent to one of the highest maximum security prisons in the land. I mean, that's what's really sick about this thing. And I think the only reason why Donald Trump is doing these tariffs, one of the main reasons, he just likes the word. I mean, he's such an imbecile. He likes the word, and he doesn't understand the damage that it is doing to this economy and that it'll continue to do.
If they haven't proved that already, but the fact that people are shutting down GM, Ford, really, is that stupid? I mean, it's unbelievable. And he's a coward on top of that. I'd like to go in front of him, call him out, and challenge him to a fight, because he wouldn't do it, because he's
Donald
a coward.
Trump has never been in a physical altercation in his entire life. He's a man he's a man that wakes up in the morning, he puts on his 8 layers of orange makeup, he wears his girdle and his 4 hair transplants and his fake teeth and his fake tan, and according to Stormy Daniels, his mushroom. We'll just leave it at that. That's according to Stormy Daniels. He walks around and he pedals around looking like a clown. It is interesting that all these MAGA Republicans out there have a problem with drag queens when done. All due respect to drag queens. I respect all you drag queens out there. But Donald Trump looks like one without even knowing it.
Well, why does he put on makeup? I mean, that's what
because
I don't understand.
he's the most insecure, mentally ill human being you will find in this country in politics. That's why.
You got that right. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's mentally deranged. He's extremely insecure. He is a narcissist, and he's a bad person. So you add all those character traits together, or lack thereof, this is what you get.
What an idiot. What these people are crazy. I don't understand them.
Yeah. Well,
I really don't.
I don't either, my friend, but, you know, we try to dissect their brains every day, and quite frankly, I lose it sometimes when I do so. Number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-SAVE. Again, that's 702-221-7283. Listen, I ask for MAGA Republicans every day. Sometimes we get some callers here and there, but there's a lot of situations where MAGA Republicans are not ready. They're not ready to have a debate. They're not ready to tell me why they voted for Donald Trump. They're not ready, or they fail to understand what is going on in this country right now and the threat that Donald Trump continues to give us on a daily basis. They don't seem to understand. 702-221-7283. I'm going to go back to Joseph because Joseph said he had a story to tell, and I think we lost the connection there. Hey, Joseph, what's going on?
Hey, sorry about that.
That's okay.
So I'll tell you a brief story about something that's been happening to me recently, and you actually just touched on the subject we talked about, detained and deported with no due process. My uncle-in-law has been in ICE prison camp for 3 months in New Mexico because he lived in Nevada his whole life, but 20 years ago was charged with a misdemeanor marijuana charge that was eventually expunged from his record. Now, keep in mind, despite the fact that it was expunged, our shadow president, Stephen Miller, deemed it necessary to label these people as criminals and treat them as such. So never mind his business, never mind his family, never mind anything. His whole family's been in America for generations. He's been in ICE prison for 3 months now, and they don't know where they're going to send him. And we're talking to lawyers. We're dealing with the criminal and the immigration aspect. And I have to listen every single day to my girl and her family cry to me. And I'm a 20-year veteran. I did bomb detection with canines for most of my career when I was in. And it takes a lot to rattle me, even to this day. But I'm at the point now where it's been 3 months of just, we don't know what's going to happen to him. We don't know where he's going. We don't know if he's going to go to Sudan. We don't know anything.
That's what people don't seem to understand, the stresses that Donald Trump and his administration are putting, not just on those who are in fear of being deported, but their family members and their friends. It really is unprecedented territory that we are in right now as a country. And listen, everybody's going through something. You know, I was having a conversation with a lovely lady yesterday about this, and we were talking about, you know, she was talking a little bit about the issues that she has, and I was talking a little bit about the personal issues. We all go through things in life, right? And we all, you know, hang on our friends and our family, and we're all going through different things in our life. But what I can tell you is I don't know what it feels like to be in fear of, you know, being deported to an El Salvador prison, or a friend of mine or a family member of mine, God forbid. I can't even imagine the suffering that people are going through in this country. And I know what your typical white, crusty MAGA Republican would say, well, just be in the country legally and you won't have to worry about it. First of all, these are the same bastards that make it 10, 15 years to be a legal citizen here. And these are the same a-holes that want to tell you to just be in the country legally or get the hell out. You know, they're just such scumbags and despicable human beings. And it goes back to show what I said before, and I'll say again, it's not make America great again. It's make America white again.
And they moved the goalpost constantly because he was never considered a criminal. He had a business.
Right.
He was a law-abiding member of society. He did his time. He was just, the charge was expunged. We're in a marijuana legal state. Why is he a criminal now? Whereas before, for years and years, he's been, and he's had his own business and been involved in society. It wasn't a problem then, but now it is. And that's the problem, I think. How do you interact with these MAGAs that it wasn't illegal before, but now he's an enemy of the state. And what he says, the glorious leader, goes. I find it to be very, very hard to counteract these narratives because they don't even have the best invested interest. Cruelty is the point with these people.
Well, that's what it comes down to. You said it yourself. It comes down to cruelty. These are people that want to own the libs. It doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter if it hurts their own constituents. They attack the gay community. They attack the trans community. They attack drag queens. They attack minorities. Because unless you're a MAGA white man, they don't even treat the white women in this country very well that voted for Donald Trump, then this is what you get. And it's sick and it's disgusting. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Why don't we go to Juan? Juan is next up on PTL. Hi, Juan. What's going on?
I'm good, Brian. How you doing?
Hey, good.
I just wanted to say, keep fighting the good fight, man. You know, I hate Trump. I'm from Atlantic City. I'm in my 40s, so I experienced all that nonsense he pulled in the 80s and 90s. I just can't stand the guy. He's great on reality TV as a train wreck, but as a president, he's terrible.
Yeah.
Keep fighting the good fight, man.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. You still live in Atlantic City?
No, I live in Delaware now.
Oh, you're in Delaware. Yeah, I used to go to Atlantic City when I was in my early 20s. I would stop at Meadowlands and go catch a Celtics-Nets game. Those were the good old days when I didn't have a lot of responsibility. We would, a couple friends of mine from college, we'd go to the Meadowlands, and then we'd stay in Atlantic City for a couple days and then drive back to Connecticut. Now, my understanding, Atlantic City, it's been like this for years. We're on one side of the boardwalk. You got all a bunch of nice senior citizens playing bingo, and then the other side, you're going to get, robbed at gunpoint. So it's not the safest place in the world to go to, my understanding.
Well, it's been like that since I was about 10 years old. I mean, and then when I was in my 20s, say, the early 2000s, it really started with too many casinos. They didn't realize that 5 casinos is fine, but 13 is too much.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, hey, Trump's Taj Mahal didn't do very well, filed for bankruptcy, but he's got the Trump Marina, right? But he's a wonderful businessman. Donald Trump once said he didn't want black people counting his money in his casinos. He wanted Jews counting his money. He was quoted as saying that. I appreciate the phone call, my friend. Thank you very much. Can't believe that guy is the president of the United States for a second time. All of you must be very proud who voted for him. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to William. William's next up on PTL. Hey, William, what's going on, man?
Hopefully you're doing better. And are we up to 120?
Let's see here. If you're William, good to hear. I believe we're at 114,000 plus subscribers right now. Yeah, so we're going strong. We're going strong.
Do the listeners need a little lecture from me so they increase that?
I never say no to a lecture if it means that I'm going to benefit from it, William. So how could I say no to that? Go right ahead, sir.
As I always say, if the listeners knew how hard you work, I think they'd open their pockets a little more and get their friends to subscribe. And now, since we are on different sides of the aisle, do you have anything you want to ask me?
Oh, well, geez. All right. Well, boy, you're opening up a can of worms there, William. All right, let me ask you this.
And remember, Brian, you're for sale before you ask.
Fair enough. So, William, Donald Trump is now surprised that Vladimir Putin might not want peace. He says, we've always had a great relationship, and I'm very angry with Putin. Vladimir Putin, as you know, is a guy that is an evil, murderous dictator, and he's been doing this for years. Why do you think all of a sudden now Donald Trump is starting to realize that maybe Vladimir Putin isn't such a good guy?
There is no justification for it, and you were a little mild on how bad a person Putin is.
Then what is wrong with Trump? Because I know you voted for him. What is it with Trump? Why is it that now he's all of a sudden he's the one who said he would end the war in 24 hours? Why is it now that he's saying, "Oh, you know what? I'm really angry with Putin, and you know what? Maybe now, we'll do something about it, and maybe sanctions." Why has he waited till now?
I have a feeling he has spread himself too thin with too many things too fast. And when you take shortcuts, then it doesn't always turn out well.
But like this was the guy that said he would find peace in the Middle East, and now it's chaos in Gaza. I don't know if you heard about this U.S.-backed aid distribution. The Israel-Palestinian conflict is worse as it was on day one. As you know, the war in the Ukraine is still on fire. He hasn't lowered the price of prescription drugs. He hasn't lowered inflation drastically at all. Everything seems to be moving in the wrong direction. And I'm wondering, what has he done? Because I hear a lot of people who voted for Trump that will say, well, look at what he's done when it comes to immigration. Look at all the people that's been deported. Well, yeah, he's not giving people due process, and there are great people, good people in this country that are in El Salvador prisons, women ripped from their kids. I mean, is this the America? I can't imagine, William, that this is the America that you want.
The only good things that are going on now is the borders should be closed for the safety of our kids with drugs, period. There's no negotiation on that. Do you agree?
I don't think our borders
with the
should be.
fentanyl and the drugs, and maybe I've been watching To Catch a Smuggler too much.
Okay, so here's
the
my.
fentanyl has got to be dealt with.
So, William, here's my comment on that. Most of the fentanyl that's coming into this country illegally are coming through ports of entry from U.S. citizens. Most of the drugs in this country are not from illegals. Now, I don't want any illegal drugs in this country. Let me be very clear on that. But the bottom line is more fentanyl is coming in this country from U.S. citizens than those that are not legal. That's my frustration there. And my other frustration when it comes to the border, again, is as follows. We had a bipartisan border bill in effect. And if the argument is, well, look, there's less people coming into this country illegally now, it's great, everything's great. Well, tell that to the families of those who never got due process, who are not violent criminals, who are in El Salvador prisons. I just think that everyone has the right to due process, and we always hear MAGA Republicans talk about the Constitution. Donald Trump has literally ripped our Constitution in half. That has to bother you.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the ins and outs, how it really works.
Wait, but hold on, William, you're not a stupid, William, you're a smart guy. In our Constitution, it says any person. Doesn't say documented or undocumented, has the right to due process. Any person.
Correct.
If they wanted to say only if you're legal, they could have said that. They said any person. So I don't think you have to be a lawyer to understand that Donald Trump is defying our Supreme Court and he's defying our Constitution. I don't think I'm not an attorney either, William. We're both in the same boat, but I don't think you have to be one to understand that. That's just my opinion.
Right, and everything is not perfect just because the border is slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
It's far from it.
Do you regret your vote at all?
I never will, Brian. I'm sorry.
You never will?
I will never regret my vote because I believe that the other choice, I'm not sure she wouldn't need help to run the country, and I don't think she could have done it by herself.
All right, well, okay, that's fine. We'll go back to Kamala in a little bit. So you said never. If Donald Trump was seen on a video sodomizing a child, would you feel different?
Brian, you and me treat women much better than Clinton and Trump.
Okay, but hold on. But I understand, of course. But let's leave Clinton out of it.
What you just said,
yeah,
I would never say a good word about him again.
Okay, what would you say, William? Do you have any kids?
No.
You have any kids?
Married once.
Okay, you were married once. Do you have kids though?
We tried. No.
Okay, understood. So let's just say your ex-wife, and I'm sorry to hear that, but let's just say your ex-wife was in a dressing room in a beauty pageant when she was like 16 or 17 years old. And Donald Trump ran the pageant, and he went in there watching your now ex-wife changing while she was naked without permission, and she was horrified by it. Would you still vote for that person?
I would not intentionally vote for him.
Okay, the only reason why I'm saying that, William, is because he did that.
A lot of people, Brian, have done things we'll never know about.
Okay, but a lot of people don't ever become president of the United States, and Donald Trump did admit to doing that on the Howard Stern show. So that's why I just want to know where your bar is. That's all. Because I agree.
My bar is. My mom told me she was molested 4 times. Any man that molests any age woman is a 0 to me.
So what about somebody who's found liable for sexual abuse?
I know where you're getting at, but without knowing all the true facts, you know what I mean? It would.
Well, we're not on the jury. Well, no, the jury saw that. The jury saw that.
Obviously, if Trump did something to a minor, you're exactly.
But he did.
Ever liked
but Trump. Okay, so Trump. I want you to listen to this, William. Trump went on the Howard Stern show, and he bragged sexually about going into teenage beauty pageant locker rooms while they were changing without permission.
Right.
Forget about policy for a minute, William. I'm happy to have that conversation with you. Let's talk about character. Is that somebody that you want to be the leader of the free world?
I would answer that question is, I don't know if anybody has that character anymore, Brian, for one person to lead.
Has Kamala Harris ever gone into a locker room, in a boys' locker room, without permission, talking about them changing naked? Has Kamala Harris ever had anybody accuse her of sexual assault or rape, including an ex-husband? Donald Trump's ex-wife accused him of rape in court documents in a deposition. Has Kamala Harris ever been sued and paid off thousands of discrimination lawsuits? Has Kamala Harris ever bragged about sexual assault, grabbing women or men by the genitals because they're a celebrity and they let you do it? You get where I'm trying to go at here. You can
what you're saying is, I'll give you a little bit of a variation on me. After Kobe got in trouble with the young lady in Colorado, I never liked him again. But everybody knew about it blatantly.
Would you have voted for Kobe Bryant for president of the United States?
No.
Then why did you vote for Donald Trump? Because Kobe Bryant was liable and paid her off, but he was found not guilty of rape. Donald Trump was found liable in a court of law of sexual abuse. In fact, you can make the argument that Donald Trump has far worse of a resume, for lack thereof, when it comes to mistreatment of women than Kobe Bryant does. Then why did you vote for Trump? Help me understand that, William.
But, okay, and you know how we think a little bit differently, but basically on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
Why did anyone vote for Bill Clinton?
Okay, but that's what. Okay, but that's.
I'm being brutally honest.
I wouldn't, but that's whataboutism. I think Bill Clinton did a lot of bad things to women. I really do.
No. He lived his life the way he wanted to.
Well, you don't think Donald Trump is doing that?
He probably did. Because he was raised with everything.
Okay, so I agree with you.
And he was enabled, if you know what that.
So I think you're making my point for me, William, and I'm not trying to change your mind
here. Your point is correct.
But what was it about Kamala Harris that you dislike so much? I'm just trying to.
Sometimes people vote against the other candidate, and I think you'd agree with me, rather than for either one.
Okay, why though? What was it about Kamala Harris where you said I'd rather vote for a liable sexual abuser and a guy who goes into teenage locker rooms when they're naked? What was it about Kamala that was so bad that you said I'm going to vote for that guy?
She was painted with the border czar, and that.
But she was not. But Mayorkas was the border czar. Kamala was not the border czar.
No! But you remember when Biden came out and said you're in charge of the border?
Well, but she wasn't in charge of the border. I don't care what Joe Biden said. Mayorkas was in charge of the border, and Kamala, as the vice president, you know this, William, is not a policymaker. J.D. Vance is no more of a policymaker than Kamala is. In fact, Kamala and Joe Biden came together to help put together the bipartisan bill. But even if that was true, which with respect, I don't think it was, but even if it was true, and let's just say she was the border czar, okay, you think she failed on the border, you're still voting for.
Oh, no, I'm not saying she failed. Is they painted her as responsible for it. And you know how
who painted her as that? But who did that?
When they said that she was the border czar,
who?
People in their minds thought she was in charge.
Well, I can't control what people think. Some people are ill-informed, but she wasn't the border czar. Mayorkas was the border czar. Now, if you want to say that the Biden administration and Mayorkas didn't do a good job of securing the border, I think that's a very fair conversation to have. But the bottom line is that Kamala Harris was not the border czar. Give me something else. Like, I want to pick your brain a little bit here. Give me something else, and you say, William, that's why I voted for him, and I couldn't vote for her.
living in California my whole life, there was a certain man she became involved in very early in her career, and in a way, it was an exchange for advancement in politics.
Okay.
I'm just telling you what it was.
Okay, so 30 plus years ago, when Willie Brown was not with another woman, in fact, I believe he was single at the time, they may or may not have had a relationship. Where is the evidence to prove that he helped her career? A woman who went to college and got a quality education, passed the bar, became the attorney general twice, and then elected as a senator. Is there any evidence to prove that a guy by the name of Willie Brown helped get her to where she was and get to the vice presidency?
I'm not saying it was direct, but I think you know as well as me from I'm living in California my whole life, it's hard for a Democrat to lose a statewide office no matter who
Well,
they
let me
are.
ask you a question. What do you think is more valuable? Allegedly, her having a relationship with Willie Brown 30 years ago, or your father,
I'm not holding that against her.
or your father giving you a $500 million company when you're a child, basically, when
No,
you're a kid?
you're right. I do not hold it against her.
All right, so give me something you hold against her.
Plants a little seed of doubt.
Okay, well, give me something that you would hold against her then, because you talked about the border. Mayorkas was the border czar. You talked about an alleged relationship from 30 years ago, which I don't think has any bearing on her career. But give me something.
No, but it potentially helped her career.
Okay, I would respectfully disagree with you on that. I don't think there's any evidence to prove that. Donald Trump has slept with so many women. He's disrespected and lied to pretty much every woman he's ever been with. But let's stay away from Trump for a moment here. Give me something that really you don't like about Kamala Harris that, and she's, forget about the border because we talked about that. Forget about Willie Brown. I want to dissect and really figure out what was it about her that you said, I can't vote for this woman.
You have me a little here because I don't know the specifics. And like I said before, is as a woman in politics, she was very successful.
Mm-hmm.
And
why is it? But why does it have to be a woman in politics? Why can't we just say politics in general? As someone,
no, she's done very well. Even you will agree with me for a woman.
Yeah, but okay,
it's not easy.
It makes it harder. I do agree with you on that. But she has had a very successful life, regardless of what's between her legs, which personally, I don't care. I get what you're saying. I get your point. But what
she could be the top 3 of all women in politics in United States history.
Perhaps, but you didn't vote for her. And I'm trying to understand why. What was it about Donald Trump in his first administration where you thought he did a great job?
The interest rates were very low and he helped a lot of people lower their payments and let them stay in their houses.
Okay,
and that's from a financial.
All right. Well, I would just beg to differ on the fact that when he left office, we were locked up in our rooms and people were jobless. And I thought his handling.
Oh, no. I mean, people had a chance to refi to make it easier to keep their house, which is very valuable in this.
All right. Well, Kamala Harris had a lot of plans for housing, including a $25,000 down payment loan by the government for people that are struggling living paycheck to paycheck. But when it comes to Trump, he got us $8.2 trillion in debt. I always hear from Republicans about the deficit and conserving money. He got us $8.2 trillion in debt. Didn't that concern you?
Do you agree that Democrat or Republican, they don't care?
I think that's a general term. I think there are some people that do care, and I don't think Donald Trump cares. Otherwise, he wouldn't have implemented all these tariffs, and he wouldn't be making his tech billionaire friends richer, and he wouldn't have given some of the biggest tax breaks to the top 1% in decades. So I would agree with you that some people don't care. I don't think Donald Trump cares about middle America. He's taking away food stamps.
Oh, no, I didn't say he cares.
Yeah.
But they kick the can down the road, if your listeners know what that means.
I think it's a general statement that, yes, I think some politicians definitely do that, sure. But do you think he really wanted to make America great again, giving some of the biggest tax breaks to the top 1% and telling women what to do with their bodies and, these transgender culture wars? I don't know. I don't think it's make America great again. That's just my opinion. But I'm just trying to figure out, like, one really important thing that you just can't stand about Kamala Harris. Listen, I don't think Democrats are perfect by any stretch. I have my grievances with them as well, but I look at Kamala Harris as a good family woman, a good mother, a good wife, an example for a young girl. And I look at Donald Trump as a despicable human being. I'm just from a moral standpoint.
Right, and he could be despicable.
Could be?
Right? He could be. I'm not saying he isn't.
So you don't, okay.
I have no direct facts, Brian. kind of.
All right. How many marriages has Donald Trump had?
I have no idea. Maybe two.
He's had several. Has he ever been faithful? Like, what would you say about a guy who has unprotected sex with a porn star while his wife is pregnant?
That's pretty stupid.
I agree. What would you say about a guy who makes Bibles in China for $3 and sells them in the United States for $60 after he becomes president?
It would be selfish.
I agree. What would you say about a guy who has nicknames and attacks anybody who disagrees with him?
That could be a character trait.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. What would you say about a guy
like, I'm stubborn. I don't know how you are, but I'm stubborn where it actually hurts me sometimes.
Yeah, I understand. What would you say about a guy who's had 25 plus women that have accused him of sexual abuse or rape, and including his ex-wife in court documents?
The truth on that one is, I will bet my life it's not all 25 are telling the truth.
Okay, but if it was just one, would that be
Do you
okay?
agree that all 25 probably aren't telling the truth?
I don't know, but what would you say? What would you say if it was only one?
If it was one, my grandfather said always forgive a woman once, but I guess that doesn't matter anymore.
Well, because you talked about an alleged relationship that Kamala Harris had with Willie Brown 30 years ago.
Oh, no. I'm just saying that if and only if that was done to promote her career in politics, I don't like that.
Yeah, there's no evidence, though, that's true. All I'm simply saying is that what do you
see where I'm coming from?
Even if that was true, let's just say allegedly that Kamala Harris slept with Willie Brown to help her career. Do you think that would be worse than Donald Trump raping a woman?
I would never hold it against a woman doing anything in politics, would you?
Okay, but hold on. What do you think is worse? If, in fact...
Trump is 1,000 times worse if we know the whole story on both situations.
Do you know the whole story on Kamala Harris and Willie Brown?
I never will.
Okay, so why don't you question Donald Trump and all the sexual allegations then? Why is it...
I don't question it. Some of it has to be true, but not all of it.
Okay, I hear you, William, but hear me out on this. When we talk about Donald Trump and his sexual abuse, you had said, I don't think all of it's true. I don't think they're all telling the truth. Why not give Kamala Harris the same benefit of the doubt?
25 out of 25.
Okay, fine, but I think one is too many.
Do you?
I think one is too many.
Do you believe all 25 out of 25?
I don't know. I tend to believe victims when they come forward and they claim. I start by, and I also think context and the person is very important. Example. You've had over 25 women that have claimed Trump has raped or sexually assaulted them. It was proven in a court that he was found liable for sexual abuse of E. Jean Carroll. This is a man who's never been faithful to one woman his entire life. He literally bragged about grabbing women by the genitals. He literally went into teenage locker rooms without their permission. So I think context is very important. So if you're going to ask me, right, do I believe the women? The answer is yes. Based on the way he's lived his life and the way he's talked about women and the way he's treated women his entire life, absolutely, 100%, yes.
You're correct, as I just don't think mathematically 25 out of 25 is possible.
Even if it was 1 out of 25, I would never vote for somebody that rapes women. I wouldn't vote for a rapist. I wouldn't vote for someone who abuses women. I don't care if Kamala Harris had a relationship with a man 30 years ago that might have been powerful. I could care less. What I care about is her character now, and that's why I voted for her. Yeah.
Okay. Let's assume you're 100% correct. How would you judge Bill Clinton, the same or different?
Okay, so the reason why we're talking about Kamala Harris is because it was Harris versus Trump. As I've said on this radio show before, I think Bill Clinton did some very bad things to women, and I don't think he's a good guy. I've said that about Bill Clinton. I wouldn't vote for Bill Clinton right now if he ran for president. I would probably vote for him over Donald Trump, but I wouldn't vote for him, and I wouldn't want to vote for him. I don't want to vote for bad people, even though you could make the argument fiscally he did a very good job as president, policy-wise, and he left us with a surplus. But the reason...
Oh, no, Bill was a great president. He was.
Okay. Well...
You agree?
I thought fiscally, yeah, he was a pretty good president. He was willing to work with the other side, and he did. The only point I'm trying to make is this, and I would say it is proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that Donald Trump is just a horrific human being, and he's treated women terrible his entire life. I don't care whether Kamala Harris slept with some dude 30 years ago. What I do know is just because you sleep with a guy by the name of Willie Brown, allegedly, that doesn't automatically guarantee you that the people are going to vote for you for Attorney General twice. It doesn't mean that people are going to vote for you to be the senator. And it certainly doesn't prove that somebody's going to choose you to be the vice president of the United States. So I think she's a very intelligent woman, and she's very distinguished and a good lady.
Right. Let's assume that you're 100% correct. In California, whoever gets nominated as a Democrat in a statewide office has an incredible win percentage no matter who they are. Do you agree with that?
It depends. I think it's a case-by-case basis, right? I think
In general. If there's a D on the ballot, they win.
Yeah, I mean, in California, sure, for the most part.
Correct. So, but I don't want to take up any more time.
All right,
but
William.
I have to reinforce to your listeners that if they have no clue how hard you work,
thank you.
and the more they can help you and get new subscribers,
thank you, William.
It makes a big difference to the show and the quality that you can go beyond.
Well, thank you, William. That's very kind of you to say, and I appreciate your support as always, my friend. And even though we obviously disagree politically, I do think it's a good conversation. We got to go to Darlene. Darlene is the MAGA destroyer. She's next. What's up, Darlene?
William, you are absolutely pathetic, and you don't know what you think. All you do when Brian was trying to ask you a question, and he knows the truth, all you do is pivot. It's ridiculous. And another thing, I'll tell you, Brian, why he didn't vote for Kamala, because she's black. Because y'all talk about everything else, but you know that subject didn't come up. But I bet you William is a racist.
Well, I can't speak.
And that's my opinion.
I can't speak to that. We'll let the listeners decide on that one, Darlene, but it's always good to hear from you, and I do appreciate your call. Let's go to Brett. Brett is next up on PTL. Hey, Brett, what's going on? Thanks for the call. What's up?
Hey, I want to thank Nunchuck for getting me on. That was ridiculous, Brian. You're not going to change these people's mind. You're just not going to change his mind. He's absolutely never going to vote for a black woman. It's never going to happen. It's a waste of time trying to even figure out these people at this point. It just is. And I love you and I love your show, but it's a big waste of time. I know what you're trying to do, but in my opinion, it's a lost cause.
With some of these people, it certainly is a lost cause, and I appreciate your call, my friend. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL. What's up, Paul?
Hey, man. I've got a call about that guy that just called in a second ago.
Yeah.
This kind of guy is the reason that women don't want to come forward, because they treat men to a different standard than women. If Kamala Harris has a consensual relationship 40 years ago, she slept her way to the top. If Donald Trump abuses 25 women, it's not real. Nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. I mean, it's not just that, Brian. It's how he's mistreated everybody. He calls Ted Cruz's wife ugly. He demeans people in the press. I mean, he's made a history of this. And even when I make TikTok videos, I can't tell you how many women come up in their lives in my comments, and they're afraid to say something because men like him make excuses for people like Donald Trump, who's an adjudicated rapist. I mean, literally in a court of law with jury of his peers, even with that said, they'll say, well, I don't know all the evidence. Well, you don't know that he's not guilty either. I just don't understand why this society keeps doing this to women.
You're right.
Like they're making it up all the time.
You're right, Paul, and I appreciate your call. Running against the clock here, but they say they don't have all the evidence. Well, you never are going to have all the evidence. The jury has all the evidence, and they decided and they found Donald Trump liable of sexual abuse, period. Who are we going to next here? Let's go to William. Williams is next on PTL. What's up, William?
Hey, Ryan. I'm calling from Tyler, Texas. So I'm in the deep red belt down here. I'm also a vet. Also lived in Las Vegas. Last time I was there was when in 2008 when it crashed in there. It was really bad. That really, I'm not sure what he was trying to say. I mean, other than the fact that he would vote. He would have voted for Trump just because. I think he wanted to vote for Trump because he doesn't like women. A lot of these guys are. they don't like, especially black women.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. Some of the most educated people in society are black women, and 93% of them did not vote for Donald Trump. So we could hold our...
I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous.
You know what? I usually have that effect on attractive women. They get very nervous around me. So usually it's not middle-aged men, but that's okay. That's all right. You're doing fine, my friend.
I just say,
go ahead.
I just wanted to say, look, I don't like what, the way this country is going with this guy. But I also don't think it solves anything. Us, yelling and screaming at each other. I talk to Trump supporters all the time. And I do it at work. I'm at work and I'm talking to them.
Sometimes some of these people are so stupid and they're such imbeciles and they're so ignorant and ill-informed and they say so many stupid things. The only time you could really get through to them sometimes is by yelling, sadly. Who are we going to next? Let's go to Eugene. Eugene is next on PTL. What's up, Eugene?
Yes, hi. I don't know if that's on topic in regards of Ukraine war and what Trump said. Because, it seems like you have a different topic. Is that okay?
You know what, Eugene? I hate to be disrespectful, and I don't mean to be, but we are up against the clock, and I would ask you to call a little bit earlier, Eugene, in the show tomorrow, and I would love to talk to you about Ukraine. Is that fair?
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry, Eugene. Yeah, we're up against the clock. I'm giving people 30 seconds here, and that would take more than 30 seconds. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next on PTL. What's up, Paul?
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Good.
The bad thing about MAGAs is they don't do their research. They don't look for the facts. They don't want to know the facts.
Alternative facts.
Yeah, they just want to throw out their own BS.
Right.
And it goes from the top down. So that's the problem. You can't reason with them.
There's a lot of people that you cannot reason with, even though I attempt to, and I try to, my friend. Up against the clock, I really do appreciate your call, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Yeah, we're a live show here. We're 12 to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. So obviously, if you're calling in at 50 after, the calls are going to be cut short a little bit because we usually have busy phone lines every day, and today is no exception. Jaeger in Vegas says, what would the caller's mother think about her son growing up to become this indifferent to suffering of others? Well, I agree with you, Jaeger, and I try to make that point across to a lot of people who vote for Donald Trump, which is how can you look in the mirror and look at your kids and tell your kids that you voted for an adjudicated rapist? I mean, I try to make that case every single day on this show, and I'm going to continue to do that. We have some great guests lined up for the remainder of the week. Tomorrow on the show, Wajahat Ali is going to be joining us. If you don't know Wajahat, he is so smart. He's brilliant. Of course, we had Ron Filipowski on the show today from Midas Touch. Later on in the week, we have some other special guests that are lined up for you as well, including a guy by the name of Jesse Dollamore. He is a very popular YouTuber and very anti-Trump. Smart guy. He's going to be joining us on the show Thursday. And, yeah, you're not going to want to miss this. The leader of the Proud Boys wants some more abuse. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that's right. Enrique Tarrio is going to be joining us back on the show Friday. He has made statements that Joe Biden deserves the cancer that he received. Obviously, it's repugnant and it's disgusting, but we are going to, I am going to do battle with Enrique on Friday, so that is certainly going to be interesting. JoJo from Jers, Joanna Carducci is going to be joining us on Monday. More special guests next week. We're hoping to get Jasmine Crockett back on the show next week as well. So a lot of big guests lined up for you. Please check out the bloody-shirt.com website. It's protest apparel, visual ammunition to ridicule Trump and his supporters. Bloody Shirt, about freedom of speech without fear. They offer compelling designs on 100% cotton T-shirts, $45 for shirts, $60 for hoodies, and proceeds will help fund the resistance. I mentioned it earlier in the show. Please support our sponsors at bloody-shirt.com. We will see you tomorrow, everybody. Love all you guys at PTL Nation. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467